Greetings, fellow barbarians. It is I, Alan Odinson, and this is the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Got an awesome show lined up as always. Folks, we are rapidly approaching episode 100. I am very, very excited for this. Technically, we're over 100 episodes already if you count in our members-only shows. But, officially, our 100th show is on the horizon. And we are moving towards it quick, fast, and in a hurry. And I am stoked to still be here talking to you guys. And it's not through lack of effort on our opposing sides, on our opposing sides' efforts there. I mean, they have been put the work in last year to try and bring us down, but here we stand. We are still here. We're still live and kicking, and we will continue to be doing so and rolling very quickly towards episode 100. And as I said, I've got a pretty cool show lined up for that already in the plans. So be ready for that as it's coming here. Let's get a little bit of that quick housekeeping out of the way real quick. First off, our website is thebarbarianlounge.com. Go there, check it out. It's a lot of stuff on that website. Post articles up every now and then. I got a new article that I want to post up here soon in regards to, honestly, some of the topics we're going to be talking about today. We've got our shop is there. In that store, if you click on that store link, you'll see two options for our Thuggy strangulation cords. Make strangulation great again. Yes, that is our goal here at the Barbarian Lounge. We're working really hard to get those Thuggy cords out there. If you guys have been paying attention, I've been posting up a lot of videos lately regarding its use. I think there was a common misconception about its application that I'll probably talk about a little bit later in the show here, just because that's going to be kind of relevant to what we're discussing. So if you want one of those, especially after listening to this show, if you want one of those Thuggy strangulation cords to support the Barbarian Lounge, go there, check it out, pick one up, and I will get it out to you. All of those are made by yours truly, by the way. Also, while you're there, you can check out our archives. Yes, that's right. I'm going to drop some shit on the floor, guys. There we go. You can check out our archives there. I'm constantly updating those. We hope to have the next batch of 10 shows up there, as well as our regular shows are also available. I usually try and keep about 10 in the queue there, so you can just click on radio show and have those available. Underneath the archives, we've got some of our past shows, as well as many of the interviews that we've done, which are have gotten a lot of fanfare from a lot of different people. We try and get people who are kind of on task with the message that we have here. We have a lot of martial artists, fighters. We've had guys in counter custody. We've had martial arts people that I would term as a martial arts legend, even though they wouldn't call themselves as such. But just a lot of really good stuff there. So go there, check it out. While you're there on the barbarianlounge.com, I urge you to also check out the donate button. When you click on that donate button, you will have two options. One of those options is a one-time PayPal donation, and that is exactly as listed. You basically will go there, click on it, one-time PayPal donation, say, here, thanks, Odinson, have a cup of coffee on me, or whatever. It's every little cent helps to keep the broadcast running, because contrary to what a lot of people think, podcasting is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a get-rich scheme at all, as a matter of fact. We're not running on Joe Rogan money here, okay? We're running this show pretty much on bare minimum with the support of our patrons, and that is the second option you will have. You can click on that Patreon link. When you click on that Patreon link, it'll take you to patreon.com/thebarbarianlounge. There you can become a member of the show. Yes, that's right. As a member, you'll have certain perks and benefits. One of those is you will get our 4 regular shows early, ahead of time of everybody else. They always go there first. And sometimes they're a couple days, sometimes it's a week or so. So you get all those shows early. You will also have access to our complete archives. Yes, that's right. Complete archives dating all the way back to number 1. So a lot of people will go to our regular page archives and look, and they'll say, well, where are all your shows at? Well, if you're a member, you can get all of those. Those are only available to our members. And some of those archives, as our shows progress, on the archives on our main page, thebarbarianlounge.com, those archives will start to be moved to our members site, so they won't always be available. The way to make it always available is to be a member on our member site. Plus, you will also, as a member, you will also have access to 4 exclusive shows a month from the Barbarian Lounge. So we do a total of 8 shows, but most of you guys only listen to half the product. By becoming a member, you can actually get those 4 regular shows. Or I'm sorry, the 4 members only shows. And right now we're up to episode, oh man, I may be wrong on this. I know it's over 50. I think we're about at 55, 56 of our members only broadcast. So, you guys have missed like 55 episodes, 55, 56 episodes of the Barbarian Lounge because you're not a member. As I've been saying since last year, you guys, you got to support the fight. And, podcasters are out there. They're trying to give you good information. Most of them are running on a shoestring budget, especially when it's a show like this one that's been attacked by different groups around the world whom we managed to have pissed off. And they tried to hack us twice last year. And it costs money to keep the protection services up. It costs a lot of money to keep upgrading our software so they can't get through. And if it wasn't for the patrons, man, I don't know if this show would still be running. So if you guys like good content, you like good info, I urge you, put your money where your mouth is, support the fight, and become a member. It's a win-win situation. You support the broadcast, we win, and we also give you some support as well. So check it out. Become a member. Patreon.com/The Barbarian Lounge. You can also find the Barbarian Lounge on UCY.tv. We're there on a weekly basis. They will play the shows on there, and they actually upload those up to YouTube. Jeez, I can't talk today, guys. So, throw some support there. They got some good stuff going on there on UCY.tv, and you can find a lot of our shows uploaded. They're the reason we're uploaded to YouTube. I just, quite frankly, don't have the time and effort to be able to load that stuff up on YouTube. So, thankfully, UCY.tv is doing that. And they are much appreciated. They are a very brave network for carrying this show amongst some of the other content they have. So shout out to everyone out there at UCY.tv. You can also find the Barbarian Lounge on iTunes, Stitcher, all those nice little platforms there, and you can listen there. Our sponsors, Odinson Archery, traditional bows made from non-traditional materials. Go there, check it out. You don't have to break the bank to join the Brotherhood of the Bow. A lot of people think that in order to get into archery, it costs an ass ton of money, and they are wrong. You can get high-quality products from Odinson Archery and support the show geez, I tell you what, guys, my brain is just fried. I can't seem to be able to talk right. So you can get high-quality archery products at a low cost and support the broadcast. So check it out, OdinsonArchery.com. I think my problem is I'm so excited about talking about the content today that I'm trying to zip through this so it's not too long. And in doing so, I'm making my tongue go that while I'm trying to talk. So forgive me there. All right, guys, let's take a sip here. So what I wanted to talk about today is I wanted to discuss a concept that I have been, I've actually been using this particular terminology for a good while, and it's the idea of stay dangerous. Okay, stay dangerous. That is something you've heard me say on numerous occasions. I say it at the end of all my videos. Recently, I've been saying it just because it's been something that's kind of been stuck in my mind. And I told my wife a while back, the whole concept of stay dangerous has just been clicking in my head. And I think a lot of it relates to, the signs of the times, the way things are going right now. I mean, let's be honest, guys. The world's not all peaches and rainbows, right? It's not, as much as they want us to believe that this, we can all go out there and leave our doors unlocked and not have to worry about the bad guys coming in, or we can, people tell me all the time, I should be able to walk down the street and not have to. It's like, well, you should be able to do a lot of things. I should be able to fly, but I can't fly. Okay, so it's just one of those things that you have to come to reality. Reality dictates that we cannot fly, the same way that reality dictates that there's certain parameters that we have to live by. And I think a lot of it right now, the concept of stay dangerous, has got me to the point where I'm starting to consider all avenues of my training as it relates to my martial goals. You know, in the martial arts world right now, and I've discussed this on past shows, in the martial arts world, I mean, we're looking at probably one of the biggest watering downs of the martial arts world that I've seen in a long time. It was amazing to me when I posted the video up. I've actually posted several, but one of the videos in particular, I posted up a video of the Thuggy Strangulation Cord in action. And I was doing it from, the particular position was from a side control position. If you don't know what side control is, and you don't, some of these jiu-jitsu terminologies you don't understand, you need to take some jiu-jitsu. So, that is my professional recommendation for you right there. It's like, I don't know what a side control or a guard is. Well, you got a big problem, because there's a lot of people out there that do. And if you run into one of them and you're not ready for it, you're going to be in for a big surprise. So from side control, you know, I'm showing how to utilize this Thuggy cord. And I had some people who were, the best word I can think of is they were triggered by it. You know, I think they were triggered by the name, essentially. You know, they were saying, you know, I heard a lot of comments of, oh yeah, that's going to go over good with the authorities and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, so if you get attacked on the street by a guy and you choke him out, right? First off, if you guys don't know this, I'll just say this briefly. Choking somebody out does not mean killing them. Choking them out means you apply pressure to the arteries in the neck, which causes them to pass out. If you do it correctly, 5 to 7 seconds is what you're looking at, okay? And they'll go right to sleep, and they'll wake up wondering what the hell they're doing, where they're at, okay? That's pretty much how it goes. I have choked people out. Numerous people. I've been choked out, so I know what it's like, okay? And, you know, they're saying, you know, well, you know, the authorities are going to have a field day with this. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I'm on the street, and many of the times that I have choked another individual out has been in altercations that were, you know, not in a cage, right, or on mats. And, you know, if I choke a guy out, I mean, well, he's not hurt for one. He's just going to wake up and, ta-da, magic, right? He's going to wonder what happened. But if I choke a guy out, are you guys like hanging around? Are you going to hang around after you've choked this guy unconscious? Right? I mean, it's kind of weird to me. Because it's like, you know, if I put a bullet in him and he's dead, well, that's a different story. If I put a bullet in the guy, then that's a different story. You know, if I have to employ some sort of weaponry against him, which is going to take his life, that's a different story. Something like the thug cord is basically just an augmentation of your jiu-jitsu gi chokes and your sleeve chokes. You know, that's it. Lapel chokes, sleeve chokes. That's pretty much what you're working with here. It's not, you know, it's not taking the life. I made the comment to some of the people who got freaked out by it. I said, you know, when you apply this choke, one thing for sure is going to happen. He's going to go to sleep. After that happens, his life is basically in your hands at this moment. When he passes out, his life is in your hands. Because at that point, you decide whether he's going to wake up in a parking lot, wondering to himself, how the hell did I get here? What the hell? You know, pondering his life decisions, right? Either that's going to happen, or the next thing he wakes up to is going to be the fiery pits of hell. Okay? I mean, you know, he's not going to wake up at all. The next thing he sees is his seat in hell, I guess you can say, right? You know, it's your option. You know, it's the same with any choke. You know, people got freaked out because it was a choke with a tool, but let's be honest, man. You know, if I'm choking, I can do the same things with my arms. It's going to be a lot easier with a thug cord. It's a lot more efficient, and I don't run the risk of tiring myself out or losing position with the cord. It's basically a tool that enables me to do it better than I can with my hands. But if I'm applying that same choke, if I hold that choke after they go limp, guess what? If I keep holding it for an extended period of time, and I say extended period of time, a lot of people think, oh, you hold it for 30 seconds, he's going to die. It's not true. It's not true. You know, you're talking a vast amount of time that you're going to have to hold that choke and cut off blood to the brain in order for the person to have brain damage or die, okay? You know, longer than a minute in many cases. I've talked to some doctor friends of mine because I was there. You hear conflicting reports. But holding this choke, I can do the same thing with my hands and cause the same amount of damage. But people get freaked out because it's a tool, and I use the term strangulation. I hate to tell you, but when you are choking someone with your arms, hands, legs, whatever it may be, you are strangling them. You are cutting off the air from their brain, and if you choose to, they will die. That is basically what a tap out is. A tap out, when you're in a choke, understand this, and it's the same way with anyone who's applying a choke. When they tap out, they are basically saying to you, you have killed me. I am dead, and I'm yielding to you because I don't want to finish this process of death. This also makes it very important to understand for the applier of said chokehold, because you have to understand the power that you now have with such a lethal move. And that's what any choke is. Any choke is a lethal move, if you choose for it to be. But it's all in the choice. If you freak out and you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you just want to be a psychopath that strangles people, well, guess what? You're going to kill a guy. Okay? It can absolutely happen. But it's all up to you. And a lot of people freaked out. And, you know, and it's funny, if I was wearing a gi and I did a cross choke with my gi on, if I was using the gi as the thug cord, no one would have batted an eye. If I'd have did a sleeve choke with my gi, no one would have batted an eye. But I use a cord and give it a scary name, and it triggers people. That's hilarious to me, especially from people who are so-called martial artists. You are not a martial artist. You do not understand that which you are teaching. You know, I had this conversation with people regarding the cord. You know, and I was trying to explain to them as it relates to matters of lethality. And I actually had somebody tell me that it would be much more of a quote-unquote humane thing to do to break an arm rather than go for this choke. And, you know, and I made the comment, you know, just kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I made the comment, you know, well, it was not necessarily tongue-in-cheek because I did have a little bit of evidence behind it. I said a broken arm does not guarantee that the fight is over with. The first thing I heard was about position, because I had, you know, I was in side control, and they're like, why would you even employ this here if you've got dominant position? And I'm like, position is position. When you get in a dominant position, it puts you in the place to be able to apply a finish. Getting position, a street fight is not about points. I'm not here to collect 2 points for passing the guard, okay? If I get mount, I'm not looking for the referee to give me 4 points for getting the mount. That's not what this is about. This is about finishing off a human being as quickly and efficiently as possible so I go home this evening. I don't want to give them time to think about what's going on. I don't want to give them time for their friends to come running up and start putting boots to my face. When we hit the ground, I want them done with as quickly and efficiently as possible. So, you know, you can't say, oh, you got dominant position, you win. No. I hate to tell you, but, you know, in a street fight, your dominant position becomes very, very vulnerable as soon as other elements come into play. Blades, guns, hell, even the thug cord, if you know what you're doing with it. Okay? You know, and then the conversation was, you know, well, if they resist you here, just break their arm. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, a broken arm does not guarantee the fight's over with. And I have a story with this. I had my left elbow snapped in a Kimura, our double wrist lock in catch wrestling terminology. And, you know, the guy was applying the hold. My shoulder didn't break, but my elbow popped and got all crooked. And the guy actually freaked out when he did it. He freaked out when he did it, let go of the hold, and I stood up. I got up off the ground quickly. And this was actually in a fight, an MMA fight. And he looked at the referee and he's like, his arm's broke. And the ref's looking at me and I'm like, my arm's fine. And at the time, from an adrenalized state, I wasn't, I knew it had popped. I knew it went weird, but, I was still in the fight. Kept fighting, ended up winning the fight. Actually won it by TKO. Caught him off a shot with he was going for a shot to the legs, because obviously he was like, I'll take this guy to the ground again. And, I popped him with a right uppercut on the way in, knocked him flat and jumped on him and started hitting. It wasn't until later that evening that I realized my arm is really, really messed up. So a broken arm does not guarantee the end of a fight. Just recently, a couple of UFCs ago, Paige Van Zandt, a 115-pound female, broke her forearm, snapped it into first round of a 3-round fight, and kept fighting all the way through. She was even throwing punches with it. Snapped her forearm right in half. Kept going. So, broken arm does not necessarily mean the fight is over with. I informed this gentleman of this, and he's like, well, break the other arm. And I'm like, so you're telling me that it's more humane for me to break somebody's arm, break both of their arms, than it is to choke them unconscious? I mean, what sense does that make, right? What sense does that make? I mean, it's like this guy's going to go to sleep and take a power nap and wake up and wonder what the fuck's going on. He's going to ponder his life decisions at that moment when he wakes up. And he will wake up, barring any, airway damage, which isn't necessarily likely. Been choked with a lot of different things. He may have the blood vessels in their eyes pop. We used to do gi chokes, man. Sometimes you lock that shit on there and it pop blood vessels in your eyes because it happens so fast and so suddenly. You gi guys out there that do jiu-jitsu, you know what I'm talking about. But I say, it's basically this guy's going to take a power nap, wake up, wonder what the hell's going on, maybe have a sore neck the next day, and everybody's safe. Both of us go home, as a matter of fact, which is a nice benefit that I'm giving this individual. As opposed to me going home and this guy being, not being able to wipe his ass and getting spoon-fed for a year, because he's got 2 broken arms. I mean, what's, you understand what I'm saying? When you start freaking out and telling me that an arm lock and breaking 2 arms is more humane than just applying a choke or any kind of choke with a cord or with your hands is asinine to me. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely out of touch with reality. Especially if you start to understand the actual application of how these chokes go down. There's a reason that guys who are small, especially for smaller people, this isn't a problem I usually have, but in jiu-jitsu, you had a lot of guys that were smaller who were competing against larger people, and they realized, there were just too many factors and parameters of applying a joint lock to an individual who was under the effects of adrenaline. They understood, you're trying to apply a joint lock to this person. It may not be it. Like, you may break it, they may keep on going. Guys like some of the greats, like Marcelo Garcia. Marcelo Garcia was always very small. He wasn't like a super strong guy, but he understood that, if I start choking a guy, it doesn't matter. I don't care how big he is. I don't care how strong he is. If I choke him, I can put him out. I don't give a shit if he's on drugs. It doesn't matter what it is. His body will respond to no blood going to his brain. Okay? But it's funny to me that people who claim to be martial artists, they've got this milquetoast approach to it where, they get triggered by the idea of the viciousness of something like choking somebody with an object. They're just absolutely and utterly triggered by it. And it just makes me wonder. I think to myself, exactly what is it that you think you're practicing here? One of the questions that I get a lot of times, and this was something that was brought up with the cord, they were saying, self-defense is going to be out the window here. And I say, okay, well, why is self-defense out the window here? It's like, well, in order for you to use deadly force, there has to be the 3 things, ability, opportunity, jeopardy. Those things factor in. And while I can make the argument that those things were available especially in a grappling affair, it's important for I had to actually educate this person on exactly what deadly force is, and which was actually kind of shocking because this person was in law enforcement. They worked with law enforcement. We'll just put it that way. I don't want to out them too much here. And, I was explaining to them, and this is something, when I used to teach the concealed carry permit classes, this was something I had to make sure that I informed them of. And anybody that I teach, I inform them of this fact. What you do as a martial artist is about being a dangerous individual. Every single thing you do as a martial artist is about making yourself more dangerous than you were the day before. You're acquiring skills, many of which will fall under a category of lethality, should you choose for them to be so. In many cases, especially in the world of jiu-jitsu, a lot of people do not realize, because, they brought up seeing UFC and, MMA. We live in an MMA world right now. They don't realize that the moves that they are doing put them in a category of using deadly force against another human being. And I'll give you an example, because this is one I brought up regarding a choke versus breaking an arm. If you look up the definition of deadly force, it is inflicting, it's applying a force that causes serious bodily injury or death. I think it even says to which a reasonable person would believe that they were in danger of serious bodily injury or death. So, I hate to tell you, but if you are breaking, if you are willfully, if you've made the choice to break another human being's arm, you are committing an act of deadly force, lethal force, whatever you want to call it, because you have inflicted serious bodily injury on that individual. You are willfully breaking their limb. You tell any jury, if there's any video, whatever, and they see you go to the ground and you're down there tussling with the guy and you're controlling him, and you switch to let's say you switch to a straight arm bar or a top wrist lock or Americana if you're of the Brazilian mentality, and you switch to that and you're applying pressure and you snap his arm. Guess what? You just willfully broke that individual's arm. You committed an act of deadly force, because that is serious bodily injury. I know that's difficult for a lot of people to grasp. And people can get triggered when they see me using a cord doing these chokes and everything, but the fact of the matter is it does not list moves which trump other moves. It says serious bodily injury or death. It doesn't list the difference in the way you apply it. If you willfully are trying to break another individual's arm and you break it, you are committing serious bodily injury, i.e. deadly force. And this is important for a lot of aspects. First off, if you're applying a choke, in most cases, if you're not a psychopath, nothing gets broken, nobody dies, probably not even going to the hospital. Okay? Because you are in control. When they go limp, you now have control of what you want to do to them. And whatever happens after that is up to you. So that's important for you to understand in your application. But it's also important for you to understand when applying that move to other people. Give you an example. Let's say that you got a guy in a guillotine choke. Okay, if you don't know what a guillotine is, take jiu-jitsu. Got him in a guillotine choke, and you are choking him you've got it, man. You've got it in there. You got your arms locked. You're squeezing, and this guy pulls a blade out, or even a pistol, and decides to place either that sharp edge or some of those nice fresh bullets into your heart and kill you, or put you close to death's door with it. Is he justified in doing so? Well, you were unarmed and he was armed, so yeah, he probably, it's probably not right for him to do that, right? Well, let's think about it. What did you just do? And what is a jury going to think? You were choking, when you were choking a man, what did I say? I say you now have control of the situation. When he goes limp, you decide what's going to happen. Okay? So, does that not mean that when you're applying that choke, If someone is applying that choke to you, or you're applying it to someone else, and they decide to stab you or shoot you in the process of doing so, are they justified in doing so? Are they going to die? Well, they're probably not going to die unless you're a psychopath, but do they know that? They don't know that. They can do whatever they want to you after you pass out. So what is a jury going to think? Because most of your jury, people sitting on the jury, they've never been choked before. But I can guarantee you, that once you find out exactly what's going to happen, that they go to sleep and who knows what happens until you wake back up again. Yeah, a reasonable person is going to say, you know what, there's definitely a fear of life here, a fear of death, a fear of losing life. Serious bodily injury? Probably not. But the possibility of death, a reasonable person is going to believe they're going to die here. And I would say that's definitely a possibility. Ability, opportunity, jeopardy. Do they have the ability? Yes, they do. They're strangling you. Do they have the opportunity? Well, yep, they're close enough to do it. Are you in jeopardy? Yep, I'm getting choked right now. Guess what? 1, 2, 3. It's time to go. So a lot of people don't think about this. And I always urge martial artists, they need to have this conversation with their students. You need to, especially if you're practicing jiu-jitsu, because these moves are designed, and think about it, every move in jiu-jitsu for the most part, besides controlling somebody with position, is designed around the idea of deadly force. Serious bodily injury or death. Your chokes, death is always available there. It's always at the door. You're always knocking on the door of death when you're applying a choke to another individual. Anytime you lock up a joint, they're tapping so it doesn't break. Guess what? If it breaks, that's serious bodily injury. So we need to understand exactly what it is we're doing here. But so much of the martial arts world has gotten so watered down because they see it on TV and they're like, well, nobody's dying here. It's safe. People are tapping out and blah. And it's like, brother, there ain't no tapping out in a street fight. I've locked up the arm of one individual in a street fight, and I guarantee you he had no time to even remotely think about tapping out. Because when I framed up on it, I broke it. And had I not done it that way, his buddy, which, I didn't actually engage this person physically, but I drew a firearm and made them leave the scene. If I'd have been trying to wait for a tap, I'd have got the shit kicked out of me and probably died on that corner. So, there's no, when I hear a guy talk about street fighting, he's like, oh, if they tap out, then it's over. It's like, there's no tapping out here. What was it, I think it was Hicks and Gracie that said, if we fight for money, I'll stop hitting you when the referee tells me to. But if we're fighting in matters of honor, I stop hitting you when I want to. It's the same way with any sort of chokes or submissions. It's the same way. If it's in a cage, we're both there to make money, and I want you to make money. I want to make more money by beating you. But I'm not going out there with malice. On the street, man, I don't know your story at all. All I know is this shit's got to be handled. But it amazes me that so many people, they get so triggered by it. They don't understand that which they are practicing is dangerous. Even with your striking arts. You can get away with it somewhat in striking, but how many times have you heard of somebody getting hit, falling, hitting their head on the ground, and dying in the process? This is another conversation that instructors do not have with their students. The difference in putting on gloves and headgear and shin guards and going out there and doing some rounds in the ring or on the mats or wherever you're at versus knocking someone cold in a street fight. You don't have any ill will there, but guess what? It's not going to matter in the least bit if they fall dead. That's why it's important to teach your students how to handle a street altercation versus in the ring. And I'll give you this nice little free, glorious bit of information right here when it comes to striking somebody on the street. All you guys that work the doors, all of you guys that are, anybody that trains in striking arts, anybody in general that wants to make sure that the person they knock out does not fall and crack their head on the ground. Here's the life-saving bit of information for you. Make contact with them first, meaning grab a shirt, grab a handful of clothing, grab a handful of hair, something before you punch. Why? Because if you do manage to knock them out or they do fall, you can control how hard they hit the ground. And it's not because I care about the guy that I'm knocking out, right? I don't know this guy. Fuck him. I don't know anything about him. But I do care about my family, and I do care about my future, and I don't want to go to jail because some jackass needed to be fucking knocked out, and, I made the mistake of hitting him, and he's got a glass jaw, and he falls to the ground and cracks his head open. Well, fuck. Now I gotta live with that. But too many people in the martial arts world, we're in the hurt business. We're in the business of teaching human beings how to injure other people. Martial arts, the martial portion is the fighting. The art is not having it done to you. People talk about honor in the martial arts and this and that. But that term gets thrown around way too much. These people on the streets, these people, the thug that wants to walk up to you when you got your hands full of groceries and put a gun to the back of your head and say, "Don't you fucking move." That guy, he doesn't give a shit about honor. Your honor business, that's in tribe stuff. That's amongst your people. That's amongst your peers. It ain't amongst those guys. They have not earned that right. And it is a right. They have not earned it. That right does not belong to them. It baffles me, man. Like, you have like so many people who have not yet come to terms with that which they practice. And I mean, hell, I don't know if they've just haven't had any experiences in that. I've worked in security. I've worked in, security in bars, working the doors, nuclear security. I fought professionally. I mean, it's like, I understand the two different worlds here. There are different worlds. They are very different. But when you move into elements of the street, man, and when you're out there dealing with people who just want the next fix, they just want that next fix so they can inject it into their veins. Or they just want to prove to their friends that they're not a coward, they're not a fucking pussy, and that they can actually go out there and put a bullet in your head. Those people, there's only one way to deal with them. Harshly and efficiently. It's completely blown my mind. I'm gonna take a sip here of my drink. It's completely blown my mind talking to martial arts, and I've heard this so many times, man. There's levels to the understanding of your martial journey. Mine started with Aikido. Then I moved to the grappling arts, and I moved to striking, and I moved to boxing, and then I moved to the weapons arts. Like I said in the past, I was lucky enough that my school had, the school that I started in, where he taught shoot wrestling, Muay Thai, Filipino Kali, which he's training in Dan Santo, and Wing Chun. So I mean, guys, I hit the lottery when it comes to schools, man. It was anything I needed to learn, I could learn it all right there in one place. So, that's definitely a blessing when you're a young martial artist starting out. But you realize, especially, as your priorities change, especially as you get older, if your entire martial training is completely devised around, let's say you're Taekwondo, right? You're a Taekwondo guy. And man, you got the prettiest jump spinning back kick that there ever was. Well, are you still going to be able to effectively apply that craft when you're 50, 60, 70, in a wheelchair, you lost a leg, whatever your situation may be? Can you still apply that craft? Are you indeed going to stay dangerous for all your days? That should be, anybody's martial arts journey should always have that in mind. What I'm doing now, will it still be effective when I'm an old man? If it's not, you need to augment your journey a little bit. You look at even guys like Royce Gracie. Royce Gracie understands the difference in the fact of, I'm highly skilled in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA fighter, and got a little bit of striking here and there. But Hoist also understands that if he runs into a guy with a gun, he's going to be in deep shit. So what did Hoist do? Hoist now is an avid shooter. Listen to Hickson Gracie. Hickson Gracie, old school. What did he say? You know, they said, what's your technique for multiple opponents? He said, my SIG P226. That's my technique for multiple opponents. So it's important to understand your limitations. It's important to understand your limitations. It's important to understand that even when, and see, like Hickson right now, from what I understand with Hickson Gracie, he has a lot of issues, health issues with his back and his hips and everything. Well, guess what? Because Hickson took the time to learn how to operate that SIG P226, guess what that means? He's still dangerous as fuck. Okay? But the same thing goes for you guys. A lot of people will throw it out and say, well, you know, I'll just focus on firearms. That's great. You know, if I'm a gunslinger, I'll just whip my gun out and that's it, and it's over with, you know? Or they'll tell you, you just pull the shotgun out and rack it and the guy will run away. Horse shit. The thing that I have with a lot of people that use terminology like that is you tend to find that, first off, they view their weapon as a talisman rather than a tool, meaning they believe they can pull it out like some kind of magic Harry Potter wand and go, woo, and, you know, whatever the fuck Harry Potter says, and, you know, and the bad guy runs away, right? That's not the way it goes down. Maybe it would in some cases, but it's not always the way it goes down. Fact of the matter is as a good guy, you're always going to have, the bad guy is going to have a level of one-up on you, okay? Meaning that's because he is the bad guy. When he shows up, he knows what he's there for. He knows he's there to rob you. He knows how he's going to do it. He's done this a million times before, and he's just going to roll right in there, and he knows how, in his mind, he wants this thing to play out. You, on the other hand, do not. As far as you know, you were going to get you an ice cream cone, and surprise, surprise, you run into a robbery. All right? Because of that issue alone, your go-to move is not your gun. Because I can assure you, at most contact distances where you will be robbed, I don't give a shit if you got a sub 1 second draw or not. You ain't gonna get that gun out into play quick enough under stress. It's not gonna happen. You hold an ice cream cone in your fucking right hand because you're right-handed. Which side your gun on? Uh-oh. Well, I'll drop my ice cream. Yeah, go for it. Go for it, Hoss. Let me know how it plays out for you. Everybody thinks that criminals are idiots wandering around the street, hobbling around like zombies. These motherfuckers, they've done it plenty of times. They got more reps at committing violence than you do in most circumstances. Why do you think most of the people teaching effective means of dealing with these people either have a background in dealing with them or once were them? There's a reason for that. So all you gun guys said, well, I was training guns. I'm good to go there. No, it's a tool. No different than my thug cord is or the blades that I have on me. They're just tools. If I don't know how to apply them and be able to put them into play, I'm fucked. And the same thing goes for, if you're a gun guy, you gotta have empty hands. Because that guy's gonna have a drop on you. He's always gonna have the drop on you. Oh, well, I'm always ready. You're never gonna sneak up on me. Bullshit. Bullshit. You're never 100% ready all the time. You're just not. And a bad guy will shoot you on the shitter if he wants to, right? I mean, we have to understand our own limitations and be real about what we bring to the fight. So when it comes to looking at your martial arts training, every single thing you do needs to be designed around the mentality of staying dangerous. I train this because I want to stay dangerous. I train to fight on the ground, defeat these positions, get back to my feet, whatever your goal may be, so I can stay dangerous. I harden my hands by smashing a wall bag or doing iron palm training. I do this to harden my weapons so I can stay dangerous. I take classes on shooting drills. I go and I spend money on classes each year so I can stay dangerous. I stay up to date on these things. I talk to other people so you can stay dangerous. This is what it's about. Martial arts is not about the flowy, pretty bullshit. Everyone sees this whole samurai honor and shit. Let me tell you something, guys. Samurai used to take heads. They were head choppers. How do you think they got paid in a lot of situations? Bring the head back. So you had samurai riding around with heads hanging from their saddles. Think about that. You know, is this the oh, so beautiful, you know, honorable martial? No, that's not what it's about. It's about fighting. It's about war. It's about brutality. It's about effectively applying said craft. I have people ask me all the time, you know, they'll either beginning their martial journey or they're later in life, and you know, they want to learn this, they want to learn that. I've got a guy that's training with me right now who is 57, I believe. 56, 57. Trained some martial arts a long time ago, but he's basically starting over his journey now, and he wanted to come to me. And you know, and I asked him, I said, you know, what martial art did you take? And he said, I took Hapkido. Okay, Hapkido. All right, show me some of the stuff you did in Hapkido. And he's like, well, you know, we used to do this and run and kick here and that. And I'm like, can you do it now? And he's like, well, no. I said, okay. What about the joint locks you guys? I'm like, well, you know, we did this and that, but you know, they were always really hard to apply. I couldn't ever get it to work against somebody who was resisting. I said, okay. I said, well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to teach you. I'm not going to teach you any high kicks, because he's like 5 foot nothing. So I'm not going to teach you any high kicks. Plus he's in his 50s. So I'm not going to teach you that. I'm going to teach you how to punch. I'm going to teach you how to move your head. I'm going to teach you how to defend against the common attacks you're going to run into. And, you know, I've watched this gentleman who started off just struggling because he's in there with a lot of young students. And, you know, and I told him last time I saw him, you know, he's having kind of a rough day. And I said, you know, the struggle is why you're here. I said, you have to understand the choice you've made today. You know, when you came in here today, you know, you knew what was going to happen. You're going to come in here with guys, you know, a third your age in some instances. They're going to be stronger than you, they're going to be faster than you, and they're probably going to beat you up a lot. But you knew that. But when you woke up this morning, you said, you know what? My goal today is to be more dangerous at the end of this day than I was when I woke up. And that's slowly happening. Now you're seeing the guy starting to embrace things like head movement, and he's able to move away and actually take it to some of these younger guys because he's learning the intent. He's learning the terminology. He told me the other day, he said, you know, he said, now I'm starting to walk around. He said, when I leave the house, you know, I've got this blade here and that blade there, and I'm starting to carry my pistol. And I'm like, yes, exactly. And he said, that's all from stuff we've talked about in here. I said, precisely. Precisely. That is the whole goal of your martial journey. That man is understood. He's understood by coming in there, getting beaten up. You know, he's working hard. He's trying. He can't physically compete with these guys. So now he's able to recognize that, and he says, you know what? What if I run into one of these guys on the street? I'm going to need a tool. I said, that's right. So I started showing him some stuff with the thug cord the other day, and he's like, yes, this is it. This will help me not have to take this spike and jam it through the throat here. He's like, I can actually use it as somewhat of a a quote unquote non-lethal approach, and actually tip the odds a little bit in my favor. You know, if you listen to my episode with James Keating, the old interview that I did with him, I need to get Uncle Jim back on here, but you know, he made the comment of, you know, no human ever killed a saber-toothed tiger with by putting a triangle choke on him or strangling him with his hands or punching him in the face. No. He said, we use tools. That is why we rose to the top of the food chain. We are smart, and we made tools to help us do the job. You know, and it's the same thing goes with fighting another individual. Why would I say, you know, let's play the empty hand game when I can just use a tool to help augment the natural ability that I already have? Right? Make myself more dangerous. That's the goal, right? More dangerous every day. We add tools to our game. It's difficult for people to recognize. But I think also when it comes to the mentality behind staying dangerous, the number one thing that we have to think about is our mindset, how we go into the fight, how we go into our training, the intent that we put behind it. that's 9/10 of the game right there. Is the mentality, the mindset. You know, when it comes to the skill levels you need to master, mindset's at the top of the list above all others. Because somebody with no skill that has the mindset that they're going home tonight, they can give you a hell of a fight. They may not be able to, but they can give you a hell of a scrap. You know, at the same time, you know, I've run into many martial artists who just did not have the mindset for violence. They didn't. It was a foreign term to them. I've got an individual that trains with me also that, you know, they are very successful in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions. Very successful. Multiple medals. Very good at what they do. They're still young to it, but extremely successful at an early age. Yet they come into my school, and our schools run very different than their, you know, some of the jiu-jitsu schools are kind of more of a hipster jiu-jitsu kind of shit. It's a very different mentality at my school. My mats aren't soft, plushy mats. They're hard. You know, there's pirate flags hanging everywhere. You guys have probably seen little images of it. It's not your typical, lovely gym. It's a rough place. It's a place that when people walk into, they go, "Wow, this place is rough." I say, "Good." That's the mentality I want you to have. But you know, they come to my place and they get completely thrown off their game because we do things differently. We do things with intent. We do things with a certain level of violence behind it. They've just never seen before. We talk about things that make them kind of turn their eyes like, "Geez, that's kind of rough." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we do here." So this individual, the biggest problem I've had with them is they have the ability to do everything, but the mindset is lacking. So most of the training I've had to cater to them has been towards building a mindset. Like, you know, take some people sometimes, you know, if you got somebody that's got a weak mindset that you're training, you know, hold a pad for them and tell them, say, "I want you to hit this as hard as you can." The old Fight Club. "I want you to hit me as hard as you can." Same thing. "I want you to hit this pad as hard as you can." And you can see them kind of get a little weird, like, "I've never really thought about hitting something as hard as I can." It's weird. It's weird to see people hit that mode, but you'll see it. If you don't believe me, try it with some people that you think they've got a weak mindset. You know, have them do a little warm-up and then hold the pad and say, "Hit this as hard as you can." And it's weird for them. You know, this individual, everything they do, you know, at first they were like, you know, "I'm weird about poking, you know, gouging eyes and stuff like that." And, you know, that's just a weird thing to me. You know, that gives me the willies. So I developed, I'm not going to give my secrets out over the air, but I developed some drills to get them comfortable with eye gouging. You know, the feel behind it, the intent behind it, and slowly but surely now it's not a thing for them. You know, and I listen to this person talk, and I listen to them use terminology about feeding, and you know, I want to make sure that I'm constantly feeding the situation, and that's all I'm thinking about. And when I hear this, I know that my words are getting through to them, and the mindset is changing. And once I can alter that, I know this person. I know that once that can alter, they will follow the path of staying dangerous their entire life. They will understand that even if they were to get, you know, something were to happen, they could never do their jiu-jitsu again, they would still have the mindset behind staying dangerous for all their days. But I tell you, man, as a martial arts enthusiast, instructor, and, you know, I talk to many martial artists, I would say that right now there's a great, let me rephrase that. Right now, we live in probably one of the greatest martial arts ages ever, where we're starting to see people actually testing things and seeing what works and what doesn't work. But at the same time, this martial arts revolution has given people a false idea of what it is they're practicing, and most importantly, why it is they're practicing it. Why? Why do you do what you do? If your goal is just competition, man, have at it, have a lot of fun. But if your goal is truly that of a martial mindset, then you should be following the path of staying dangerous. Because you understand that a person who wants to stay dangerous, they understand exactly what they're doing. They understand the lethality of everything they do. While they're training, when they're applying that chokehold, they're visualizing the fact of, man, you know, when this guy taps out, he's basically saying that had he not tapped out, I would have had complete control over his body here. He either lives or he dies at my hands. It's a really mind-blowing thing. It's really a mindset-altering thing to start looking at it that way. And I think it's important for us as martial artists to anyone who's either begun or is practicing a martial lifestyle where you're wanting to, which I hope you're one of those people that wants to fight back against those people who would wish to do harm to you. Anyone who wants to follow that path, you don't have to be a martial artist, you don't have to be a black belt, you don't have to be any of those things. If you follow the path of staying dangerous, and everything you do in your life is built around that one mantra of stay dangerous, you'd be amazed at exactly what you could accomplish, and even just from a skill set. I know some dangerous motherfuckers who, they're not martial artists at all. They couldn't tell you what a rear naked choke is. They couldn't throw a proper leg kick. They probably couldn't throw a correct punch. But damn it, these are dangerous people. They're not people to be fucked with. And I'm sure you know people the same way. So I'm going to make this the last call here. Last call, guys. We'll wrap it up. So when you're out there, when you're following your journey, when you've decided, especially 2018, man, it's the beginning of the year, for you people who haven't taken those steps, now's the time. When you follow a mentality of staying dangerous, you understand that, everything that you do, every single thing you do is designed around one central theme, and that's I'm going home tonight. And I'm going to go home whether or not I have to choke this guy out. I'm going to go home if I have to lay this guy out. I'm going home if I have to put some rounds here, pull this blade out. And a holistic approach doesn't mean you just go in there like a Terminator and kill everybody. When I say I'm gonna lay this guy out, that means I'm going home in a lot of different aspects. One, I'm eliminating the threat. Two, I'm going to secure hold this individual so when I knock them out, they don't fall and hit the ground and crack their head open and die on me, so I can go home without having to commit any crimes here. The same with the chokes. The same goes with your firearm. If you are someone that carries a firearm, you need to know your laws. You need to know how to talk to 911. You need to understand exactly how you are going to make it home, because there's a lot of different fights you're going to have to go through. You're going to have to go through the actual fight, which that's going to be the shortest, quickest, and probably easiest of the two. The psychological fight, which will vary depending upon your level of psychology, I guess you can say. And the last one, the most dangerous, is the legal fight. We want to win all those fights. We want to go home. So when we think about staying dangerous, we factor all these things in there. You need to think about these things. Play them out. I always discuss running scenarios in your head, playing these things out. How will I respond here? Is the only tool I have a hammer? If the only tool you have is a hammer, guess what? Everything you're going to see is a fucking nail. Okay? This is where things like the thug core come into play, where I can apply things that don't necessarily mean I'm going to have to pull this blade out and get nasty on this guy. Okay? Tools. The tool is not the weapon. The tool is not the weapon. A person who follows the mindset of staying dangerous understands that the tool is not the weapon. They are the weapon, and they have forged themselves into such. So that's it, guys. Real quick, before I sign off, if you go on Facebook and search, actually you'll probably see it linked on the Barbarian Lounge podcast Facebook page, so you can check it out there and find it. But I have created a Stay Dangerous group on Facebook. I urge you to go check it out. No politics, just fighting. That's all we do there. We're not running this bullshit political nonsense. This is all about training, all about fighting, all about staying dangerous and following that mindset. So you can go there and check it out. Join up. I will be on there a good bit, because it is my baby, so we'll see how that plays out. So that's it, guys. Take care, and this is Alan Odinson signing off, and I urge you all to stay dangerous out there. So now, my fellow barbarians, this broadcast of the Barbarian Lounge is closed.